My brothers and sisters, some of you are exhausted not because life is hard, but because you are trying to be everything for everyone. You answer every call. You show up every time. You forgive before they even apologize. You bend until you barely recognize yourself. And then you wonder why you feel invisible. You call it kindness, you call it patience, you call it loyalty, but deep down you feel something else: resentment, emptiness, quiet frustration that no one seems to value what you keep giving. Let me tell you something that may shake you. You are not being kind, you are being taken for granted. Islam does not teach you to shrink so others can feel comfortable. It does not teach you to beg to be appreciated. It does not teach you to exhaust yourself to maintain access to people who would not fight to keep you. There is a difference between having a soft heart and having no boundaries. There is a difference between serving with dignity and surrendering your self-respect. And today we are going to confront that difference. Because if you do not understand this, you will spend your life over giving to people who undervalue you while thinking you are earning reward. It is time to correct that mindset. It is time to restore your dignity. Understand this clearly. Islam commands mercy, generosity, and beautiful character. It commands us to smile, to forgive, to help, to give, to soften our speech, and to overlook the faults of others. But nowhere, and I repeat, nowhere does Islam command you to slowly destroy yourself in the name of being nice. There is a dangerous misunderstanding happening today. Many people think that the more they tolerate, the more righteous they are. The more they endure disrespect, the more patient they are. The more they silence their own pain, the more reward they will receive. This is not what our deen teaches. Rasulullah sallam was the most merciful human being to ever walk this earth. His kindness was unmatched. His forgiveness was extraordinary. But do not confuse his mercy with weakness. Do not mistake his gentleness for the absence of boundaries. He forgave when forgiveness was strength. He was firm when firmness was necessary. He showed compassion, but he never allowed people to trample over his dignity. When limits were crossed, he addressed them. When harm was done, he corrected it. When injustice appeared, he stood against it. So why do you think that allowing yourself to be emotionally drained, constantly disrespected, or endlessly taken for granted is a form of righteousness? My brothers and sisters, if your kindness constantly costs you your peace, something is wrong. If you go to bed anxious every night because you are trying to keep everyone happy, something is wrong. If you are always the one adjusting, apologizing, explaining, sacrificing, while others remain comfortable and careless, something is wrong. Kindness in Islam is strength under control. It is not submission under fear. Ask yourself honestly, why are you overgiving? Is it truly for Allah, or is it because you are afraid of losing people? Is it because you fear being abandoned? Is it because you need validation? If your giving is driven by fear, then it is not pure generosity. It is insecurity disguised as virtue. And insecurity is not something Allah commands you to live with. Allah created you with dignity. He honored the children of Adam. That includes you. Your time has value. Your energy has value. Your emotional well-being has value. You are not a tool for others to use whenever convenient. There is a difference between sacrifice for the sake of Allah and sacrifice to maintain people's approval. When you wake up for tahajjud, even though you are tired, that is sacrifice for Allah. When you help someone sincerely seeking His pleasure, that is sacrifice for Allah. But when you ignore your own limits just to avoid disappointing someone who barely respects you, that is not worship. That is self-neglect. And Islam does not celebrate self-neglect. Look at balance in our religion. Even in worship, there is moderation. The Prophet ﷺ corrected companions who tried to fast every day without break. He corrected those who wanted to pray all night without rest. Why? Because Islam is a religion of balance. Your body has rights over you. Your family has rights over you. You have rights over yourself. So how is it that you believe your emotional health has no rights? Some people say, but if I stop giving so much, won't I become cold? Won't I become distant? No, you will become balanced. There is a difference between coldness and clarity, between arrogance and boundaries. Boundaries are not a sign of pride. They are a sign of self-respect. When you allow people unlimited access to your time and energy, they stop valuing it, not always intentionally, but naturally. Human beings value what feels limited. If you are always available, always reachable, always accommodating, your presence loses weight. And then you feel hurt, you feel unseen, you feel exhausted, but you created the pattern. You are not required to prove your goodness by exhausting yourself. Let me be very clear. Having a good heart does not mean having no limits. Forgiving does not mean forgetting the lesson. Helping does not mean harming yourself. Loving does not mean losing yourself. If someone constantly drains you, constantly ignores your needs, constantly takes without giving, and you remain silent because you think this makes you righteous, then you are misunderstanding righteousness. Allah does not reward you for erasing your personality. He does not reward you for becoming smaller so others can feel bigger. He does not reward you for tolerating emotional manipulation. True kindness is intentional, it is thoughtful, it is balanced, it flows from strength, not from fear. If you help someone, do it because you choose to, not because you feel trapped. If you forgive, do it because you seek Allah's reward, not because you are afraid of conflict. If you give, give from a place of fullness, not emptiness. And if you need to step back to protect your peace, do so with dignity, quietly, without drama, without anger, just with clarity. My beloved brothers and sisters, you are not required to destroy yourself to prove you have a good heart. The strongest believers are those who combine mercy with firmness, softness with boundaries, generosity with wisdom. Be kind, be compassionate, be forgiving, but never confuse self-destruction with righteousness. Allah loves a believer who stands upright, not one who disappears. My brothers and sisters, this may be uncomfortable to hear, but you need to hear it. When you are always available, you slowly reduce your own value in the eyes of people. Not because you are worthless, not because people are necessarily evil, but because human psychology works in a very predictable way. What is constantly available is rarely appreciated. If you answer every message within seconds, no matter what you are doing, people stop respecting your time. If you cancel your own commitments whenever someone calls, they learn that your priorities can be rearranged easily. If you say yes every single time, your yes becomes ordinary. And what is ordinary is rarely treasured. Islam does not teach desperation. It does not teach you to revolve your life around people's attention. It teaches dignity, balance, and self-control. Ask yourself honestly, why are you always available? Is it because you genuinely want to serve, or is it because you are afraid that if you delay, they will forget you? If you do not respond immediately, they will lose interest. If you are not constantly present, you will be replaced. That fear is what is destroying your value. When you operate from fear of losing people, you unconsciously overextend yourself, you over-explain, you over-apologize, you over-give, you over-show up. And instead of creating closeness, you create imbalance. The one who is always chasing loses power. Look at the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi. Did he give people access to him at every second of every day? No. There were times he was with his family. There were times he was in worship. There were times he was in consultation. There was structure. There was order. There was balance. His availability had wisdom behind it. Today, many of you respond to every notification like it is an emergency. You interrupt your rest, your family time, your focus, your ibadah, just to prove that you are responsive. And then you complain that no one values your time. My beloved brothers and sisters, people value what appears limited. If your time feels unlimited, it will be treated that way. This does not mean you become arrogant. It does not mean you ignore people deliberately to play games. Islam does not teach manipulation, but it does teach moderation. If you are always the first to initiate, always the first to fix, always the first to reach out after distance, you train people to expect that from you. And expectation without effort leads to complacency. Over availability also weakens your emotional position. The one who waits patiently shows stability. The one who panics and rushes shows insecurity. When someone takes hours to respond and you send 3 follow-up messages, what are you communicating? You are communicating anxiety. And anxiety rarely commands respect. Calmness does. When you remain composed, when you respond thoughtfully rather than instantly, when you prioritize your responsibilities before pleasing others, you send a silent message. My life has structure. My time has weight. and wait commands respect. Many of you think that constant availability proves loyalty, but loyalty is not measured by speed of response. Loyalty is measured by consistency of character. You do not need to reply immediately to prove you care. You do not need to drop everything to prove you are devoted. You do not need to make yourself endlessly accessible to prove you are important. In fact, the more you make yourself endlessly accessible, the more ordinary you become. This is not cruelty, this is reality. Even in our acts of worship, there are fixed times. Salah has its appointed times. Fasting has its designated month. Hajj has its specific days. Why? Because structure creates meaning. Limitation creates value. If everything was at all times, it would lose its significance. The same applies to you. If you want to be valued, stop behaving like you have no boundaries. Protect your schedule, protect your mental space, protect your rest, protect your focus. If someone truly respects you, they will understand that you are not always instantly reachable. And if they only value you when you are constantly accessible, then their attachment is not to you, it is to the convenience you provide. That is not love, that is utility. My brothers and sisters, stop living like your worth depends on how quickly you respond or how much you sacrifice. Your worth was given to you by Allah. It does not increase because someone texts you. It does not decrease because someone ignores you. Be reliable but not desperate. Be present but not constantly available. Be kind but not at the expense of your dignity. When you learn to manage your availability with wisdom, something changes. People begin to respect your time. They begin to appreciate your presence. They begin to realize that access to you is a privilege, not a guarantee. And most importantly, you regain your own self-respect. Do not make yourself so easy to access that you become easy to overlook. This is where many of you are confused. You have been hurt, ignored, dismissed, and disrespected, and you tell yourself, I am being patient. You tell yourself, Allah loves those who have sabr. You convince yourself that staying quiet while your heart is breaking is some higher level of righteousness. But let me be clear with you. Patience is not silent suffering. Sabr in Islam is strength. It is controlled endurance for the sake of Allah. It is not tolerating emotional damage because you are afraid to speak. It is not allowing someone to repeatedly wound you while you smile outwardly and collapse inwardly. There is a difference between enduring hardship and accepting harm. When you lose someone you love and you say Alhamdulillah, that is sabr. When you are tested financially and you continue to trust Allah, that is sabr. When you are insulted once and you choose forgiveness for the sake of Allah, that is sabr. But when someone repeatedly disrespects you, ignores your feelings, manipulates your kindness, and you remain silent because you fear losing them, that is not sabr. That is insecurity wrapped in religious language. Do not hide fear behind faith. Many of you are afraid of confrontation, afraid of conflict, afraid of being called difficult, afraid of being abandoned. So you swallow your pain and call it patience. And slowly that swallowed pain becomes resentment. That resentment becomes emotional exhaustion. That exhaustion becomes distance. And then one day you break not because you lacked patience, but because you misunderstood it. Rasulullah SAW endured immense hardship. He was mocked, boycotted, physically harmed, but he did not allow injustice to continue unaddressed within his community. When limits were crossed, he corrected. When agreements were broken, he responded. When people oppressed others, he stood firm. He was patient with trials from Allah. He was not passive in the face of wrongdoing. There is wisdom in knowing when to absorb and when to address. If someone forgets once, you overlook. If someone slips once, you forgive. But if a pattern forms consistent neglect, consistent disrespect, consistent emotional imbalance, and you continue pretending everything is fine, you are not practicing sabr. You are teaching people that your feelings do not matter. Islam does not require you to make your heart disposable. Patience does not mean silence at all times. Sometimes sabr means speaking calmly. Sometimes sabr means setting a boundary without anger. Sometimes sabr means stepping away instead of exploding. True patience is controlled strength, not suppressed pain. Ask yourself honestly, are you being patient or are you afraid? Are you enduring for Allah or enduring because you feel you have no other option? If your patience is destroying your self-respect, it is not the patience Allah loves. Allah does not want you humiliated. Allah does not want you emotionally crushed. Allah does not want you constantly anxious because you are trying to maintain a connection that only survives on your sacrifice. You were created with dignity, even in marriage, even in friendship, even in family relationships. There must be mutual respect. The Prophet ﷺ said, the best of you are the best to their families. That means respect flows both ways. Patience does not cancel accountability. If someone continues hurting you and you never communicate, you are allowing the harm to grow. Sometimes the most patient thing you can do is address the issue before it becomes poison. And let me say something that may challenge you. Walking away can be sabr. Limiting access can be sabr. Reducing communication can be sabr. Choosing peace over constant emotional chaos can be sabr. Because sometimes patience means enduring the discomfort of distance rather than the destruction of closeness. Many people think speaking up makes them less spiritual. No, speaking with adab, with calmness, with clarity, that is maturity, that is emotional intelligence, that is strength. You are not required to suffer quietly to prove your faith. If you need to say, this hurts me, say it respectfully. If you need to say, I cannot continue like this, say it calmly. If you need to step back to protect your mental health, do it without drama. Sabr is not weakness, sabr is control. It is knowing that you are capable of reacting harshly but choosing wisdom instead. It is knowing that you are hurt but addressing it with composure, not chaos. Do not confuse endurance of abuse with endurance of tests. Tests from Allah elevate you. Patterns of harm from people require boundaries. My brothers and sisters, do not let religion be misused against your own well-being. Islam is a religion of justice and balance. That balance includes you. Be patient with trials. Be patient with growth. Be patient with change. But do not be silently suffering while calling it righteousness. Allah loves the believer who stands firm, not the one who silently collapses. My brothers and sisters, this is the part most people do not want to accept. You are not only a victim of how people treat you, many times you are the instructor. The way people behave toward you is often shaped by what you tolerate, what you excuse, what you reward, and what you repeatedly allow. If someone cancels on you again and again and you immediately say, it's okay, no problem, without ever addressing it, you are teaching them that your time is flexible. If someone speaks to you harshly and you respond with extra kindness out of fear of conflict, you are teaching them that your boundaries are weak. If someone disappears for days and you welcome them back with even more effort, you are teaching them that distance increases your investment. And then you say, why do they keep doing this to me? Because you trained them. This is not about blaming yourself for someone else's bad character. People are responsible for their actions, but you are responsible for your standards. If you have no standards, people will operate at their lowest convenience. Look at how Allah teaches us in the Quran. There are rewards for obedience and consequences for wrongdoing. There is mercy, yes, but there are also clear limits. There is forgiveness, yes, but there is accountability, balance. Yet in your relationships, you remove all consequences. You forgive without discussion. You accept without clarification. You accommodate without limits. And you expect people to suddenly treat you with higher respect. Respect grows where boundaries exist. If your kindness comes without structure, it becomes predictable. And predictability without strength becomes exploitation. Many of you think that setting boundaries makes you harsh. It does not. It makes you clear. When you calmly communicate that something is not acceptable, you are not being dramatic, you are being mature. When you choose not to answer immediately because you are busy, you are not being arrogant. You are managing your priorities. When you stop chasing someone who repeatedly withdraws, you are not being cold. You are protecting your dignity. But if you keep rewarding minimal effort with maximum energy, do not be surprised when minimal effort continues. This is a hard truth. People will rise or fall to the level of expectation you create. If you expect little, you will receive little. If you accept inconsistency, you will live with inconsistency. If you tolerate disrespect once without addressing it, it becomes easier for it to happen again and again and again. Islam teaches ihsan, excellence. Excellence does not only apply to how you treat others, it also applies to how you allow yourself to be treated. You cannot demand excellence while modeling desperation. If you want to be valued, stop over functioning. Stop over explaining. Stop over apologizing for things that are not your fault. Stop filling every silence. Stop solving every problem alone. Let people feel your absence when they neglect your presence. You do not need to shout. You do not need to threaten. You do not need to create drama. Simply adjust your behavior. If they delay, you do not rush. If they reduce effort, you match effort. If they show respect, you reciprocate. If they show disregard, you step back calmly, quietly, with dignity. When Rasulullah sallallahu made agreements, there were terms. When those terms were violated, there were responses. Mercy existed, but structure remained. That structure maintained respect. Without structure, relationships become chaotic, and chaos always harms the one who gives more. My beloved brothers and sisters, you cannot keep allowing what hurts you and then complain about being hurt. At some point, wisdom requires action. If someone knows that no matter what they do, you will stay the same, they have no incentive to improve. But when they see that their behavior affects access to you, respect begins to form. You teach people how to treat you not by your words, but by your reactions. If you react to neglect with more effort, neglect grows. If you react to distance with panic, distance becomes power. If you react to disrespect with silence, disrespect becomes habit. But if you react to patterns with calm boundaries, something changes. You regain control over your emotional space. You stop feeling like a victim of other people's moods. You begin operating from stability instead of fear. And when you operate from stability, people feel it. Do not misunderstand this as manipulation. It is not about playing games. It is about self-respect. It is about aligning your behavior with your values. Allah honored you. Do not dishonor yourself by accepting treatment that contradicts that honor. You are responsible for the environment you allow around you. Teach people through your actions that your time matters, your feelings matter, your presence matters. Because if you do not teach them, they will assume it does not. And listen carefully to this one, because this is where many of you lose your dignity without realizing it. You think that the more you chase, the more you prove your love. The more you pursue, the more you prove your loyalty. The more you explain, the more you prove your sincerity. But in reality, the more you chase, the more you lower your perceived value. This is not cruelty. This is human nature. When you run after someone who is pulling away, you are communicating something very clearly. I need you more than you need me. And the moment imbalance enters a relationship, respect begins to weaken. The one who is stable never chases. The one who trusts Allah never panics. Ask yourself honestly, why do you chase? Why do you send the second message when there is no reply? Why do you over-explain when no one asked? Why do you double your effort when they reduce theirs? It is fear. Fear of losing them. Fear of being replaced. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of not being enough. And fear is never attractive. Fear does not create closeness. Fear creates imbalance. My brothers and sisters, your worth was not given to you by people, it was given to you by Allah. If someone fails to recognize it, that does not reduce it. It only reveals their perception. When you chase validation, you place your emotional stability in someone else's hands. You wait for their reply to feel calm. You wait for their approval to feel secure. You wait for their reassurance to feel worthy. This is emotional dependence. And Islam never taught dependence on people. It taught dependence on Allah alone. When your heart is attached to Allah, you do not chase people. You approach them with dignity. You communicate with calmness. You give effort, yes, but you do not beg for attention. There is a huge difference between effort and desperation. Effort says, I value this connection. Desperation says, I cannot survive without this connection. And people feel that difference. If someone withdraws slightly and you immediately increase your intensity, you reward their distance. If someone becomes inconsistent and you become more consistent, you create imbalance. If someone becomes cold and you become warmer out of panic, you weaken your position. You are teaching them that your energy increases when theirs decreases. This is not love, this is insecurity. Look at the confidence of the believer. A believer understands that what is written for them will not miss them. If someone is meant to stay in your life, they will stay without you humiliating yourself. If someone is meant to leave, your chasing will not prevent it. Chasing only exhausts you. And let me tell you something else. The more you chase, the less the other person feels the need to invest, because you are compensating for their lack of effort. You are filling the gaps. You are carrying the weight. Stop carrying what should be mutual. If you step back and everything collapses, then it was never balanced to begin with. My beloved brothers and sisters, you must learn the power of restraint. Sometimes the strongest move is silence. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response. Sometimes the greatest dignity is letting someone show you how much they truly value you without interference. When you stop chasing, you see clearly. If they care, they will step forward. If they do not, you are saved from wasting more time. And understand this deeply. Your value increases when you are centered, not when you are anxious. When you are composed, not when you are reactive. When you are secure in yourself, not when you are scrambling to hold someone's attention. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam never chased people for validation. He delivered the message with strength and clarity. Those who accepted, accepted. Those who rejected, rejected. His worth did not fluctuate based on their response. Why does yours? If someone takes hours to reply, let them. If someone reduces effort, observe it. Do not immediately compensate. Do not immediately fix. Do not immediately overextend. Calmness communicates strength. When you respond at your pace, when you prioritize your responsibilities, when you remain emotionally steady, even if someone becomes distant, you send a powerful message. I value myself. And people treat you according to the value you project. My brothers and sisters, chasing is exhausting because it is rooted in fear. Stability is peaceful because it is rooted in tawakkul. Trust Allah enough to stop running after people who are walking away. Trust Allah enough to believe that what is meant for you does not require you to beg. Trust Allah enough to understand that losing someone who does not see your worth is not a loss, it is protection. Do not make yourself smaller to keep someone comfortable. Stand firm. Give effort with balance, care with dignity, love without losing yourself. Because your value does not increase by chasing, it increases when you stop. My beloved brothers and sisters, this is where your heart becomes heavy because you are expecting something you were never promised. You give, you sacrifice, you show up, you support, you forgive, you adjust, and deep inside you are waiting. Waiting for appreciation, waiting for acknowledgement, waiting for someone to finally say, I see what you do for me. And when that appreciation does not come, your heart feels betrayed. But let me ask you something honestly. Who are you giving for? If you were giving for Allah, why are you devastated when people do not clap? This is the trap many of you fall into. You tell yourself your kindness is for Allah, but your emotional reaction proves it was partly for recognition. And when recognition does not come, resentment begins. You start replaying everything you have done. After all I did for them, after all I sacrificed, after everything I tolerated. That sentence, after everything I did, reveals that your heart was keeping score. Giving in Islam is not transactional, it is intentional. When you help someone, you do it because Allah sees it. When you forgive someone, you do it because Allah rewards it. When you support someone, you do it because your character demands it, not because you are purchasing loyalty. The moment your generosity becomes a hidden contract, you will suffer. Because people fail, people forget, people become distracted, people take advantage, people get used to what you consistently provide. And when you build your emotional stability on their gratitude, you give them control over your peace. This is why many of you feel drained, not because you are kind, but because you are overgiving with hidden expectations. You expect appreciation, you expect equal energy, you expect emotional repayment. And when that repayment does not come, your heart feels cheated. But you were not hired by people, you are a servant of Allah. If you cook for your family, do it seeking Allah's pleasure. If you help a friend, do it seeking Allah's reward. If you support someone financially or emotionally, do it sincerely. But do not tie your peace to their response. Because the one who expects reward from people will always be disappointed. Even the Prophet ﷺ was rejected by many he showed kindness to. His worth did not decrease, his effort did not stop, but his expectation was never tied to their applause. When you expect people to validate your goodness, you become emotionally dependent on their approval, and dependence creates instability. If they praise you, you feel high. If they ignore you, you feel low. If they appreciate you, you feel secure. If they forget you, you feel worthless. This emotional roller coaster is exhausting. The believer operates differently. The believer gives and moves on. The believer helps and does not count. The believer forgives and does not hold silent debts in the heart. If someone appreciates you, Alhamdulillah. If they do not, Allah still records it. But here is the balance you must understand. Giving for Allah does not mean giving without wisdom. You can be sincere without being excessive. You can be generous without being exploited. You can be helpful without making yourself indispensable. If someone consistently takes and never gives, reduce your giving, not out of anger but out of wisdom, because Islam teaches ihsan, not self-destruction. Stop seeking reward from people. Stop waiting for them to finally recognize your effort. Stop building emotional expectations around their gratitude. Gratitude is beautiful, but it is not guaranteed. And when you stop expecting reward from people, something powerful happens. You become emotionally independent. You give because you choose to. You help because it aligns with your character. You forgive because it brings you peace. And if someone fails to appreciate you, you are not shattered because your reward was never in their hands. My beloved brothers and sisters, free your heart from the prison of people's approval. Give sincerely, serve wisely. Detach emotionally from applause, because the only reward that truly matters is the one written by Allah, and Allah never forgets what people overlook. This is the lesson that many of you fear the most. Detachment. The moment you hear that word, you think it means coldness. You think it means cutting people off harshly. You think it means becoming distant and emotionless. No. Detachment in Islam is not cruelty, it is clarity. It is the moment you stop tying your worth to someone's behavior. It is the moment you stop allowing someone's mood to control your peace. It is the moment you realize that your dignity is more important than constant access. Detachment is not about punishing others, it is about protecting yourself. Many of you are emotionally entangled in ways that are unhealthy. If they reply late, your heart becomes restless. If they sound slightly different, your mind begins overthinking. If they pull back, your anxiety increases. Why? Because you attached your stability to them, and anything attached to something unstable will shake. When you detach properly, you are not saying, I don't care. You are saying, I refuse to let this control me. There is a difference. When you stop being available at every second, something shifts. When you no longer rush to fix every silence, something changes. When you step back and allow people to show their true effort, clarity appears. Detachment exposes reality. If someone values you, they will step forward. If someone only valued your convenience, they will fade away. And that fading is not a loss, it is information. My beloved brothers and sisters, dignity returns the moment you stop chasing. Peace returns the moment you stop overextending. Stability returns the moment you remember that Allah is your source, not people. Tawakkul is the foundation of healthy detachment. When you trust Allah, you do not panic when someone distances themselves. When you trust Allah, you do not beg for reassurance. When you trust Allah, you understand that what is meant for you cannot miss you. Detachment requires strength. It requires you to sit with discomfort. It requires you to tolerate silence without reacting. It requires you to resist the urge to send the extra message, to over-explain, to overcompensate. But that discomfort builds dignity. The one who can remain calm when others shift is the one who holds emotional power. And understand this carefully. Detachment does not mean you stop loving. It means you love without losing yourself. It means you care without collapsing. It means you give without making someone your emotional oxygen. If you cannot breathe without someone's validation, you are not attached in love. You are attached in dependence. Dependence weakens dignity. When you detach, you begin to see clearly who is truly investing. You begin to notice who reaches out when you stop initiating. You begin to observe who respects your time when you stop over offering it. And sometimes the results are painful. But clarity is better than illusion. Many of you are afraid to detach because you fear losing people. But what you truly fear is facing the truth about how much they value you. Detachment forces that truth into the open. If the relationship survives your boundaries, it was real. If it collapses the moment you stop overgiving, then it was built on imbalance. And imbalance never leads to peace. My beloved brothers and sisters, your dignity is not negotiable. Your peace is not negotiable. Your self-respect is not negotiable. Allah honored you. Do not dishonor yourself by clinging to those who treat you as optional. Detach with wisdom, not anger, not revenge, not ego. Detach with calmness, with tawakkul, with self-control. Be kind when you speak. Be respectful when you respond. But do not make yourself endlessly accessible. Access to you is a privilege. And when you begin to treat it that way, others will too. Remember this deeply. You lose dignity when you beg to be chosen. You regain dignity when you choose yourself while trusting that Allah is already writing what is best for you. Stand firm, be compassionate, but never attach your worth to someone who is unsure about yours. Because detachment, when done for the sake of balance and self-respect, does not make you weaker. It makes you unshakable. My beloved brothers and sisters, kindness is beautiful, generosity is noble, patience is powerful, but none of these require you to erase yourself. Stop confusing weakness with goodness. Stop calling fear sabr. Stop chasing people who are comfortable watching you exhaust yourself. Stop seeking validation from hearts that were never meant to carry your worth. Your value was given to you by Allah. It does not increase when someone praises you. It does not decrease when someone overlooks you. It does not depend on how available you are, how quickly you respond, or how much you sacrifice. Be kind, but be firm. Be generous, but be wise. Be patient, but not passive. Be loving, but never desperate. Protect your time, protect your energy, protect your dignity. And trust this deeply. When you detach from needing people to validate you, Allah replaces that emptiness with strength. When you stop chasing, clarity appears. When you stand upright with tawakkul, the right people stay and the wrong ones fall away. You are not here to beg to be valued. You are here to live with honor. May Allah grant you balance in your character, strength in your heart, and dignity in every relationship you enter. Ameen.